Hey, good morning. Good morning. Good morning. How's it going, everybody? Good? Not good? Well, we'll see how this goes today. We have Jerome Powell testifying coming up here at 10 a.m. So let's go ahead and pop over, share the screen. I seem to forget to do that sometimes. So, all trading involves a substantial risk of loss. Past performance, not necessarily indicative of future results. This presentation, intended to be informational, educational, and fun, is not a recommendation to buy or sell any financial instrument. If you desire that personal financial advice, hire and consult a financial advisor. Hey, Al. Hey, George. Hey, Kimberly. Good morning, everybody. So, yeah, there's the disclaimer. And popping over here, we can see right on the schedule here, Jerome Powell. I don't have a fancy like circle thinger to highlight that, but we have Fed Chair Powell testifying. You know what? This isn't just a one-day thing either. Coming up tomorrow, Fed Chair Powell testifies again. So he's testifying in front of the banking committee. He's expected to just reiterate that he expects longer for higher, and that everything's on the table. There's lots of debate in the market whether we are going to see a half a point raise or a quarter point raise, and what he says in these two committee testifying things may lead to some sort of market interpretation of what we might see here coming up in a couple weeks on the FOMC. We also have JOLTS job openings tomorrow, and just a variety of worldwide economic things. On Friday, we have unemployment, non-farm payrolls, our average hourly earnings, spit it out. So those things are coming up. It's not a big week of news. I mean, we do have beige book and 10-year bonds and oil inventories. A lot of stuff we get quite often. The red ones are the ones that tend to move the market the more, or have the potential to move the market more. The orange ones a little less, and the yellow ones tend to be non-events, but they can be events if it's surprising. Now, if you come to forexfactory.com/calendar, I can throw this in the chat so that you can go there yourself if you're wondering where in the devil this list is. Right there, you can come to the calendar button, which is a big green button, and then you can click right here and go see, they have some related stories, and they have this, that, and the other, and the history of, just all the things here. You can go to the source, you can go to the next release. I mean, all the things are on here. So, and that lets you get the numbers if you wanted to see, prior numbers or whatever. Like for our jobs down here on Friday, you can click the graph and you can see what we've had historically and what the expectation is and all that sort of stuff. So all those things are sitting right in there. All right. That's a tool for you. So what do I expect Powell to say? Just his normal hawkishness. We're going to do higher rates and it's going to be longer. And let's pop over and look at the interest rates real quick. Here's their target rate in the orange box right there. The market rate is in blue. That's Delta Golf Sierra 2. If you're in TradingView, DGS 2, that's the 2-year Treasury constant maturity rate. And right now, we've seen a rally in that, and it's popped up over their target rate. So they are due for a rise. Now, the target rate's 4.5 to 4.75. That's the current target, and the Fed funds rate is in the target. Like, it met the target zone. It's been lagging the target zone most of this whole process, but we finally caught up to the target zone. Now, they're talking about only needing to get to 5 to 5.5. So if they do a quarter point raise, that puts the target zone 4.75 to 5. Right? That just inches this little box up 1/4 point. Now, if they raise a half point, that puts the target box 5 to 5.25. That's above the market rate. So right now, I'm not so sure, based on the market rate, that they're going to go above the market rate. Now, one thing you may have heard me say before, if you're a regular viewer, is that every time the FOMC rate, which is the orange, the Fed funds rate, that's just, if you want it on the chart, it's just Fed funds. You push this little compare button right here. You type in Fed funds, FED, FUNDS, right there. Type that in, pops it on the chart. It shows up on a weekly chart. And every time we get across where the Fed funds rate is significantly above the market rate, the blue line being the market rate, the Delta Golf Sierra 2, the 2-year Treasury constant maturity rate, every time we get that, we see a little period of sideways, like 3 to 6 months, an average around, I think the average is somewhere around 150 days. We see that sideways, and then some kind of financial crisis, some sort of, disturbance in the force causes everything to start coming apart. It's happened here. It's happened here. And we go back to .com. We go back to Great Financial Crisis. We come back here to the Christmas that was 2018, 2019, when, if you were in the markets, that we freaked out on rates and dropped back to zero. COVID, we were already at zero, so there was nowhere to go. I mean, we basically just finished dropping the rates to zero and kept them there. And now we're coming into something else. And this time, if you've been a regular viewer, I postulated that maybe we see it go sideways and then pop. So we'll find out what happens at the next FOMC. But this is why Powell testifying has the market's attention, is because what's happening here? We did cross, and then the market rate crossed back. So at the last FOMC, I thought maybe we could see kind of a sideways, barely raising rates for a little while, but then maybe the market rate takes off again. And I don't think the market is planning on that. Like, that's the big mystery here. What if we have to get more aggressive on rates than what Powell and everybody's been talking about? So that's the big mystery in the market right now. That's the trade that I don't think anybody's taking into account. Is maybe we go sideways for, sideways slightly up here, for slow down a little bit, and then accelerate again. So that can be the big surprise in the market. How does that help us today? Well, let's talk about this. This is stocks above the 50-day moving average, S5FI. One of my favorite indicators for potential bottoming. Now, we came down, we dipped nice and low, we kind of found support there. Then we really tested it, and then we shot up. This was Thursday, Friday. Yesterday, getting a little bit of pullback on this. And this is not a live updated thing. This is only updated end of the day. We could see this thing pop on up here back into the 70 to 80, 70, 75, 80 area, like we did here, and like we did here, and like we did here. Then we pulled back, chug around there, market works higher before we get another pullback. So we are at levels where we can pull back. This does match what happened in 2020 when we made this move. We had a similar move down here below the 20. Then we had a similar move up here above the 80. And then we chugged higher for like 6 to 9 months. And then we finally dipped off, and then we came back and chugged higher again. And that was what led us higher out of the COVID bottom in 2020, 2021, up into, like NASDAQ topped out late 2021, and S&P 500 topped out like the first week of 2022. But look at the charts. We're kind of stuck in this. We tried to push higher yesterday, got slammed back down by the close, and just sideways, waiting on what's happening here. We do have resistance right above us here. We can turn down again, so be cautious. We can come down, test the roadmap line one more time before we can get going. That would be kind of a 1-2 type setup, which would be more bullish and more powerful. It's going to retrace eventually here, whether it retraces from up here or down here or even up here at 4,300, where I've been looking for it to get to for months now. We'll see. Now, everybody wants to know when the rally's confirmed. It's above 4,300. And we got to sustain a move above 4,300, not just poke up here and then roll over. So it may not happen on the first attempt. Now, NASDAQ did squeak out some little green today and squeaking out a little bit of green yesterday and today. Could push higher. We'll look at some NASDAQ stocks. Russell was the big tell yesterday. It started rolling over while S&P 500 and NASDAQ were rallying, and then everything dragged down following Russell. Now, I said yesterday morning, this breakout potential was good, and we needed to see more of it and get above this to actually confirm it. Well, we decided to retrace, and looking at the lowest low to that high there, we're basically doing a 618 retrace. We kind of did that yesterday, trying to do it again, trying to work it out today. Do we bounce here or do we rally? That's the big question. We start breaking down below this 1889 area. We're going to come down and fully test the roadmap line more than likely and probably extend to that 1859 area on Russell. Just knock a decimal off and you got IWM right there. Same pattern. It'd be like 18, I guess it's a point less, 184.59 roughly, right down in there. We draw the fib, and I need to remove the old fib. That's all junking it up there. There we go. Yeah, right down there around 184.10 would be that target if it pushes down below, say, 187-ish. So just to let you know. All right, dollar. Just chopping. Found support at that support resistance line. We got to get below it, got to stay below it, and then break that one. So different levels of support and resistance. So going down, for the dollar to go down, it's got to break below this support, and then it's got to break below this support, and then it's got to break below this support, and then we can finally get the bigger move down to probably the 90s. So talking about stuff that's moving today, we have about 4 minutes before the market opens, 3.5 minutes, something like that. So SE, nice. If it gets above this high right over here, we could see some continuation higher. So far, let's look at the bigger picture here. Yeah, that's kind of a bullish-ish pattern. We can get above the roadmap line. That can be some continuation higher. Looks like we're going to meet more resistance at this point, right across there. So we had support, turn resistance, turn resistance, turn resistance. So somewhere at that 90 area would be more resistance that's going to have to work through. So 75 to 90, that's a pretty nice move. But it's got to get above that where it just rejected down. It tried 2 days right there, tried to break out above the roadmap line, couldn't do it, retraced. Now is this the time? We'll see on SE. You can set alert right there above 75, or you can trade for it to move on up, but I'd be careful. These things can retrace deeply before they can break out. So Meta also getting a nice little pop. Still stuck in that little orange zone. This one keeps popping up. It's going to work and it's going to pop. And one day when it pops out of the top of here, it's going to rally pretty strongly up toward this 250 area. And it gap fills all the way up there around 320. What gap fill am I talking about? This one right back here. From February 2022, when they dropped like a rock. Eventually, Meta is going to come up and try to fill that if they can keep on the path of making money. They were talking about doing more layoffs in Wall Street Journal article alert I got this morning. Said more layoffs are pending at Meta. Well, that saves money. That's people they don't have to pay, and that can be very bullish for their stock in the short term. In the long term, they're going to flip it around and actually turn it into profits. So it just cuts costs. DKS looks like it's going to work on up to this 150 area and just kind of keep inching out here. Strong on DKS. That looks, yeah, retesting the highs. Get above the highs, we could do extensions out to like 175. But in the short term here, probably working back up to retest that high right around that 150, 140, 147, 150 area right in there. PTGX, nice little pop, probably on some kind of biotech information like drug, whatever. Let's see what we got. Yeah. Mid-stage trial for psoriasis candidate. All right. Ritchie Brothers had a little pop. Looks like the market's just about to open. coming back to earth. It looks like it's just chopping around that market roadmap. That's the big sideways. Ritchie Brothers sells equipment like bulldozers and excavators and dump trucks and stuff like that, over the road trucks. So they have huge lots. There's one just outside of Nashville, or between here and Nashville. And yeah, people buy equipment when the market's good. So it looks like the market just opened, getting a little green on Ritchie Brothers. XRP was showing up with a little pop, but not much on the daily. They're working through their regulatory crap with the government. Save was also on here, popping up off the bottom, but they've got some new trials on how to load airplanes. I was reading in them in Southwest, so we'll see what happens for Spirit and Save. Looks pretty bad for Spirit though. All right. AFGC, yeah, looks like a bad chart to me. DAL can break out above this 40-30 area. Watch for, you can see how it was like resistance all through there. I guess 39 really. Can get above that. It can continue. Had a nice pullback, although the continuation probably not super crazy. Yeah, 41, 42. And more resistance up here where these highs were. So that's kind of a big sideways, not really trending. FSTX, F-Star Therapeutics, looks like some kind of biopharma approval. I don't know. Up there at 710. Potentially breaking out and going higher. That could be one you got to watch on the smaller time frames. SQSP, Squarespace. Oh, I didn't even know Squarespace was public. Well, there you go. Breaking above. Is it going to be able to maintain this breakout right here? Pushing out today. Move that line up to the highs. May retrace back and test that again. It's got a long way to go if it's going to recover. Looks like it's got a lot of crap built up right in this area. Chopped in here for a long time. May have trouble getting above that. SLND. Southland Holding. Golly, something caused that thing to get volatile all of a sudden. It was pretty flat, and then something got exciting. Not much happening though. OCUL, another therapeutic, pharmaceutical. Nothing super interesting. Might retrace to the roadmap line. NYH or NYXH. Nothing. I just grabbed a bunch of these off of the stock scanner, and trip.com looks like a hot mess coming across there. Be careful. Looks like they made money and beat on the top and bottom, made money, but still just chopping sideways. I don't know. SI, there's a lot of one of the reasons that crypto's kind of down this week is everybody's thinking that these guys are going to announce bankruptcy this week. So keep an eye on that. Maybe the squeeze doesn't play out. Maybe the shorts win on this one. So be careful. That's all I can say. Be careful. I was looking for it to pop. Lots of big players, lots of big money jumping into it. Can they keep it afloat, or are they going to have to announce bankruptcy because of problems? Academy Sports and Outdoors, it's chugging higher, kind of like Dick's, riding on the train, baby. Higher. I mean, that's not the sign of that's not the sign of a recession for ASO right there. Looks like the sign of more kids going out and playing. Breaking out above 62. Looks like we could get to 67 or 70. DKNG hitting that resistance. Probably come up there again. If it can finally break out, like we could see a bigger move, but that one came down a long way. I'm not so sure there. FNGU looks like some kind of leveraged ETN. Just stuck on the roadmap line there. Zooming it up here. Yeah, it's got a got to break out above 95 to really get some continuation. And my stuff doesn't always work on leverage stuff. So we've been keeping an eye on Tesla. Just tried to get through the roadmap line. Couldn't do it. Retracing a little bit. On the next attempt, can we do it? I don't know. Oh, we'll see. I don't have, this is like an uncertain area right here. If we can break above the roadmap line, we're going to go up here and test this and then probably retrace. If we can't, if we break down below this low right here, we're probably going to come down and test this zone right in here. So be careful on Tesla. One that was moving up, Apple, tried to break out higher yesterday, couldn't, got rejected at this little zone. We've kind of built up for a couple months now. Right up there. It had, like, obviously there's some supply. There's some supply selling that happens every time Apple pokes up in that zone. If it can get above that zone, above 157.50-ish, I'd be above this high, and above these two highs. Getting above that can put Apple into some somewhat clear air and set it up to rally back to the high right up here around 176, and then potentially get the bigger move out to like 199. I think an analyst came out yesterday was saying. So watch for that. You know, little bullishness can get this one on a path. All right, that's kind of what's moving for the day. What I got my eye on, and hope that helps. I know I'm not really biased long or short right now. We're kind of in an uncertain point right now. I mean, big picture, biased long. Short term today, it's kind of a coin flip. We could see a retrace back to the roadmap line, but we could also see a breakout. We start breaking out past above yesterday's high. We can get some continuation higher, resistance at that where we topped out in December and in February. Resistance right up there around that 4150 to 4200 area. So if we start breaking down below yesterday's low, we can retrace to the roadmap line on the daily. That would put us back to about 4,000. Just know your parameters. Watch out. There's not really a strong conviction either way. Now, what Powell says can push us either way. One thing I do want to point out before I wrap up completely, right now, we have bounced. This was yesterday. Potential. We kind of closed yesterday almost flat. This is a 3-day chart. We can keep on chugging on that path. All right. One other thing, we do have some earnings. It's not big earnings this week. Like Dick's was coming in before the open today. Squarespace also. You can see why those were on the list. Today we have Casey's. It's a fuel. We have Maxion, Stitch Fix. Got Campbell Soup before the open tomorrow. Lesser companies, it looks like. We got MongoDB coming up after the close on Wednesday. So this is kind of the lookout for the week. Things that might be moving. Ulta, usually a big mover. That one. That chart in particular. Check this out real quick before we go. Look at this monster. Look at this thing. This reminds me of kind of like the Louis Vuitton chart. My target's up here around 570 on Ulta, and we can see that thing blast off. So that'd be like a almost 10% rally from here. All right. Those are things to keep an eye on this week, and I'll see you again tomorrow. Or actually, no, 5 p.m. 5 p.m. Come do your requests for 30 minutes of awesome. I'll do at least 30 minutes of chart analysis on your request. Yeah, today's Tuesday. Duh. So see you later this afternoon.